The Finnish honeymoon is over, the Americans have invaded. The usual suspects are vying for a top spot, and Paul McBeth is hoping to keep his Grand Slam dreams alive. Paige Pierce is my co-host tonight, and Brian Hinniger is going to stop by to tell us who moved up and who moved out on The Insider Show. See, the Americans have taken over the top spots on the charts. The Finns are still trying to fight for some top 10 spots, and the top 4 cards are going to get on the TV tomorrow. The defending European champion Paige Pierce is our co-host tonight, so let's go ahead and welcome her in. And Paige Pierce, as promised, here in studio. Last night, I saw her right after we did our show in the lobby, and she wasn't too happy with me about the little segment we did about the women's cards yesterday. But how are you feeling today? I
feel not as good today. Yesterday, even with all those putts you showed me missing, I still shot way worse today.
In my defense, we only showed it because it's so rare to see her miss putts like that. Yeah. Known as one of the biggest arms on tour in the female division, as well as being an absolute dominant force behind the putt with a putter, garnering you 2 world titles. Does that put more pressure on you when it comes to majors, being one of the favorites to always, compete and play at such a high level?
I don't think the pressure comes from all that. I think I put the pressure on myself because I know I'm capable, and when I see myself come short, it's really frustrating. So yesterday, obviously, I was frustrated out there missing airballing, and then, to have to relive that later, that's why I kind of gave you that grief in the lobby. But no, it happens to everybody. Unfortunately, it happened during a major championship, and happened again today. So hopefully tomorrow's better. I mean, there's not much I can do with the leader being 18 throws in front of me, but there's always another tournament.
Hey, and there's still one great round tomorrow, and but before we get to tomorrow, let's take a look at your stats for today. Let's check them out and see how you did. And as you're saying, you'd probably like to get more birdies. Kind of walk us through that. What was it, the weather? We had a little bit of a different wind today, some different conditions. What was the contributing factor if you had to analyze yourself?
Today for the women's, we went off at 11 a.m., so we didn't actually go through any of that rain. So it wasn't really weather at all. It was a lack of confidence on the putting green because of yesterday. And so I tried to adjust. I watched that video, so actually thanks for doing that. McBeth actually texted me. He's like, go study that film, figure out what you're doing wrong. And I did, and I wasn't using any leg. I was using all upper body. And I think I'm still slightly babying my ankle, even though I don't need to be. And so today I just tried to use more leg, overcompensated a little and was hitting high. And so I don't know, tomorrow I'm just going to try to throw normally. Forget about the past 2 days, don't overcompensate or undercompensate, and just try to keep it normal.
Does that make it fun? In a way, I know it hurts to not be really in contention at this point, and we were hoping that you would be, obviously, so you could come in and say I'm ready to take this tomorrow. But can you just go out and have fun? Is the pressure off for you now?
Absolutely. There's no pressure besides how I want to feel after I get off the course. I don't want to ever think, oh well, I could have done better. Obviously you can always do better, but it's a frustrating feeling when it's your profession and it's something that you practice all the time and then you fall short. So, it's just going to be fun out there for sure because there's not much I can do. Like I said, I never play for second, and I know first is out of the question at this point. So tomorrow I'm just going to go have fun, and my last round in Finland for this year, so going to enjoy it.
Okay, so define success tomorrow.
Hopefully getting at least third place, moving up once in this tournament would be nice instead of moving down or staying stagnant. You know, you always want better, so at least third would be nice, but, you know, we'll see what happens.
She handles the pressure well on the course. She handles my questions well and some video footage when we put that pressure on her. Let's switch gears. Let's take to the men's action. Let's see what the guys were able to do today. And one name that it's absolutely no surprise to see climbing atop the leaderboard is Will Schustrick. He's known as a guy who is very good on courses where accuracy is a premium. Your teammate, Paige, what can you tell me about his game when it comes to courses like this?
He's actually really good on courses like this. He's known as like a long thrower. He's also really good with mid-ranges, so the tight woods section, hole 3 through 7, he can still capitalize on those holes if he just his release points on. So.
And you hit on a very good point there. Will is sometimes known as a guy whose release point with his putter can cost him tournaments and can also put him in positions to win, and it looked really good today. He made a really big move, played smart coming down the stretch. He's going to take a 3 here on 17 and get into position to finish strong. Here's his drive on hole 18. The rain had all but stopped at this point. The the temperature had dropped and the wind was down, and he puts it right on the spot where he needs to be, looking for the upshot, approaching the big scoreboard. It's a great hyzer. He has one of the most extended and I like to say picturesque follow-throughs of anybody.
Definitely.
Just the way he has a very lanky build, so when he extends and comes through, it's just great to watch. And former teammate, now opponent, Ricky Wasaki, for throwing Latitude 64 this year. He's got a big forehand, shows it here.
Oh, wow.
Puts it right on the pin. That makes it easy. Going forehand off the tee on 17. Coming in wide. He missed this one yesterday. He just gets the tap there, though, so he's going to get the mark. He's going to have a look to save the par, and he just isn't able to do it, and that's a scary moment right there. Roll out, but it stops in time. He's going to take the 4 and move on for another forehand.
That could have been a lot worse on 17.
Absolutely.
So.
A very tricky green. A lot of people go out of bounds. It's really hard to find a birdie on that hole. Much more difficult than it looks. A big hyzer approach to a very small green. You hit that great putt yesterday on 18. Is it scary approaching the green? These guys are making it look easy.
It definitely is. And it's getting smaller every year, I feel like. I don't know if that's true or not, but it looks smaller every year.
And here's Paul McBeth and KJ Nybo, two guys who have had a little bit of trouble. You can see Paul clutched his back right there. And I wonder if that's going to affect his shot and affect his game plan tomorrow.
He's definitely in the hotel room right now, like stretching it out and putting icy hot and boiled water bottles on it.
Must be a Finnish homemade remedy. I haven't heard of that one, but we'll trust the McBees. He and KJ didn't get the birdies that they wanted to get today, but Paul had enough of a cushion that he will maintain the lead going into tomorrow. But hey, when you have to put it down on a big dogleg right par 4, that was a great way to do it. And another sidearm approach to the island on 16. And you wonder if the back has something to do with that. Somebody who is very, very accurate with his forehand, and he actually switches to a backhand approach. Ooh. Pops over, goes in. Have you ever seen that one before?
I've never seen that, no. And today we actually had to throw 2 provisionals on that because we weren't sure if the OB was on the outside of the hay bale or the inside. And it is the inside, so if that didn't skip all the way over, that would have been OB again.
Paul was in, KJ was out. KJ's having trouble here, and this is a big miss for him, as I believe he's going to take a double bogey on this hole, and that actually puts him behind Will and Ricky in the standings and taking him from 2nd place to 4th place going into the final round. Some ups, some downs. But are you really surprised to see those names on top of the leaderboard?
No, not at all. And KJ is the one that maybe some people are surprised by, but I don't think I am at all. KJ's a great player. If he played more tournaments, you would see him up there more too. So they're all 4 really great players, and like you said, unfamiliar faces.
Complete games definitely is a moniker of all 4 of those guys. Back in the States, if you don't know who KJ Nybo is, get learnt. Just like those other 3 guys, he's a threat to take this tournament home. He took McBeth to the wire last year at European Masters. Well, the men, they're in. How about the women? Let's check out what you guys did today. And, oh, sorry about that. Small issue with the mic. There's Val Jenkins. She is approaching on 15. And Sarah Holcomb's playing a little bit of a smarter game on 16 here. And is that typical in the women's division? You know, maybe not as much power as some of the top level male throwers. How do y'all attack that hole?
Hole 16?
Mm-hmm.
Well, like you said, we don't throw as far, so we have to kind of take it as we can and know our strengths and know how far we can get and work with that. If we try to get a little too greedy, it's not going to be good. So we definitely lay up on that hole.
And accuracy notwithstanding, even if you don't have all the distance, but really, you're not far behind most of the guys on this pro tour. You have that power level and that ability to get there. What do you do on that hole?
On that hole, if I'm far enough, I'll go for it. Yesterday I was, and I went for it and I got a 3. But today I was a little short and I actually had landed right behind that telephone pole. So I had no option but to lay up. But taking a 4 on that hole in the women's division is not going to lose you any strokes. So I didn't take a 4. But, you know, if I would have taken the 4, you don't lose any strokes with a 4 on that hole.
Well, by the way it's played this weekend, taking a 4 on that hole would probably gain you some strokes in the men's open division as well. A very tricky hole, a par 4 island. That's pretty special to see. Paige, hang right here. We're going to be right back with you. More co-hosting by this lady right here. It's time for some stats. We're going to go to the PDGA Analysis Corner with Brian Henniger. See you in 1 second. Back once again with our very own Brian Henniger. How you feeling tonight?
I'm feeling great. I'm just loving this week and what you guys are doing for disc golf with this show.
He's definitely a part of it here. He's got the stats. Look at all these pages. He's doing what I can't. But before we get too deep into it, let's look at the men's leaderboard after round 3. No surprise, Paul McBeth staying at the top, but some really hot rounds by Ricky and Will.
It's a lot of red, white, and blue now on that leaderboard. The momentum may be with Ricky now. He was the hottest shooter today. Starting 9 off the pace in 7th, he jumped up to tied 2nd with an 11 birdie and single bogey on 17, 10 down round of 54. In doing so, he shaved 2/3 of the distance off between himself and Paul. So our leader group tomorrow consists of arguably USA's top 3 players and KJ, one of Europe's top 2 players, Simon Lizotte being the other. I think there's no doubt that our champion will come from that foursome, as it's 8 strokes from Paul to Jeremy Colling in 5th, and you know Big Germ would have to shoot about a 50, I think, to have a chance of winning tomorrow.
And that would be a record round out at the Beast. Now the Americans are obviously sitting atop, but hey, Finland. They're still in the top 2 cards here. You're gonna get at least one Finn on TV tomorrow.
Yep, and Lassie, both he and Drew played great today. Lassie apparently is only 18 years old. So look out for this kid in the future.
And Drew, I believe, is 19. Big arm, and he has actually one of the smoothest forms I've ever seen out of Northern California. Big shout out to Drew for a great round. We saw the lefty slip. Devin Owens is going to slip back to the 3rd card. He started out really hot and just kind of cooled off towards the back end of his round.
That was quite a round for Devin. I watched. He 3-putted on hole 1, which was his wake-up call, knocked off 6 birdies in a row, and then he slowed down. And he didn't do a whole lot at the back, and he finished with drop strokes on both the last 2 holes. So I don't think he was probably too happy when he turned his card into the clubhouse.
Well, rounding out his card mates are going to be Seppo Payu, Paul Uleberry, and Nate Sexton. We might hear some more of these names somewhere in this show later on, so you guys stay tuned. Well, it's moving day. Let's talk about some movers. Who's moving up? Who's moving out?
Do we have the screen? There we go.
There we go.
Well, we did the research, and here's what we came up with. You know, he didn't move up the most places, but the biggest move was made by Ricky Wysocki, as we just discussed.
Say that 5 times fast.
Drew Gibson and Lassi Hakulinen shot 56, not 59 as it flashed, but that's not a big deal. They shot 8 down 56s. Lassi had 11 birds on his card, I believe, and they vaulted from 14th to 7th. Pasi Koivu, one of Finland's best players, didn't play well the first day. 56 today, vaulted him 30 places up to 31st. Right behind him with the star next to his name, Ilari Tuoma. Paul McBeth called an ace on hole 2 the other day. He was right and he was wrong. The ace happened, but it wasn't Paul. It was Mr. Ilari Tuomo, and he used it to kickstart his round of 57 that vaulted him up to 31st place. And then there's Mr. Roller Coaster himself.
Wow.
Mika's 3-round scorecard reads 56, 77, 58.
So you're telling me he played the same course 19 strokes better today than yesterday?
Than he did yesterday.
Wow.
Talk about a comeback from adversity.
Well, once again, you called him out. You called him out the first day. He had the roller coaster down. You called him out again last night. He had the roller coaster back up. What are you saying to these guys? Are you talking to him before the round here?
Well, he's a home course boy. He played with, arguably the world's 3 best players yesterday, and probably didn't get off to a good start, and then got intimidated by seeing all the great golf, focusing on all the great golf around of him and forgetting how to play his game. But he brought it back with a vengeance today. Hats off to that return to form from Mikko Form. And we had one more name there. Jeppe Sorensen, who's one of Denmark's best players. He was the guy who was well out of making the cut, shot 61 today, made the cut by 2 shots.
It's never over.
On the going down side, it's an all-finish affair, I believe. Let's look at poor Mr. Rico Vink. Mr. Rico Vink's score reads 73. He signed for 72. He shot 71. The 2 strokes gives him 73. He missed the cut by 1 shot. Wow. Everybody who's watching out there who hasn't had this happen to them, take warning. Double check your scorecard every time. Don't let someone else hand it in. I don't know if that happened to Riku today, but always double check your own scorecard and make sure your scorecard hits the table with you having signed for the correct score.
That may be the worst case of a 2-stroke penalty for the scorecard that I've ever heard, to miss at a major by 1 stroke. That's rough. I feel for him right there.
I guarantee you it'll never happen to Rico again.
Probably not.
Yeah. The rest of the characters here, Artu Singinen, he's still solid. He's still 14th, but he started off this morning on the leader card. He shot 66, 2 over. Leo Pirinen, one of Finland's best players, did not bring the right stuff today. Started off tied for 23rd. He's now tied for 57th. Jukka Piheltalo started out tied for 31st, shot 73, finished on the right side of the cut line.
Wow.
And we've got one more, Mr. Nirkanen, Markku Nirkanen. Started out tied for 49th, shot 72. He's now 79th, missed the cut by 3 shots.
Well, we know that a couple of those guys who are just on the inside of that cut line are going to have a chip on their shoulder tomorrow and going to really want to make up some strokes. But let's talk about the big name mover. Let's talk about Ricky Wysocki jumping all the way from 7th to 2nd place. Let's take a look at his round. He was absolutely gunning for that course record, and he was gunning for Paul McBeth. I saw him on those last 3 holes. He would take a shot, and he'd look over to find that leaderboard for the lead card. He had his sights set on the top card, and he made it. 11 birdies and 1 bogey. That's solid. 10 down. second best score we've seen, other than the twice that the course record has been set and then tied. There's been a handful of 10s, and 1068 is a respectable rating.
Yeah, for everybody, including these guys. I mean, I've watched Ricky play a few times. This kid has an incredible reach. I mean, when he's putting at 25 feet away, he almost reaches halfway to the basket. And McBeth may be the greatest putter, but wow, this guy will step up to a putt. He'll look at it for like 3 seconds, couple of quick warm-ups. Like the putt on 18 yesterday was about a 50-footer after he had a roll-away off of one of the OB line pegs. Took him like about 4 seconds to size it up, and he put it right where he wanted to. How do you do that?
You got to be Ricky Wysocki.
That's what happens when you're the world's best. That's what you do.
I will make the claim right now that he is the best putter outside of 40 feet that I've seen on tour in the last 5 years. He is absolutely automatic from long range, and you can see this weekend a couple of times he's walking towards the basket when the disc is still in the air. When you're on, and he knows it. But he's still chasing a guy named Paul McBeth, who stopped with our own hat guy after the round to talk about what he plans to do tomorrow.
Leader in the clubhouse after 3 days, Paul McBeth. Paul, how did it go today?
Really rough today. I didn't get any shots off the tee today, really. I think I only had 3 or 4 twos out there. And the thing I did well was putt. I made every putt I had today. So to only shoot a 4 down and just goes to show how key it is to be great off the tee.
The conditions were really rough today. How did it affect your game?
I don't know if it was really the conditions at all. I couldn't get off the tee. So tomorrow I'll definitely be working on the drives and trying to get loose and stay loose for the whole 18. I guess the whole round. So that's really the key for me tomorrow.
There's few strokes between you and the rest of the lead card. What's your battle plan for the finals?
I just got to shoot well. They want to put pressure on me. I know that they'll be playing well. There's no question about that. So I need to go out there and shoot a good round. And if I do, I think I have enough strokes to stay ahead. And anything in the low 50s I think will bring it home for me.
And just as yesterday, Paul's on the lead card and KJ's on the lead card. So let's take a look at their head-to-head stats and the tail of their rounds. Both of them shot 4 down 60. Pretty similar looking. Paul with 6 birdies and KJ with 8. And really the big difference here is the bogeys. We've seen Paul take 2 bogeys today, which is as many as he's had all weekend.
They both bogeyed hole 11, which the first 2 days was the end of Paul's amazing 7-hole stretch where he was 15 down playing those 7 holes twice.
And after KJ almost aces it.
Yeah, Paul had a lower back issue. Hole 11. You know who birdied that hole today? I watched Paige. I watched Paige suffer on hole 10 where she had a couple of bad upshots. She steps up to hole 11. Threads it, leaves it maybe 23 feet from the basket, and puts it right in the middle.
Wow, that's an inside the circle putt. And speaking of that, let's take a look at the inside the circle putting percentage. Once again, is that 2 days in a row? Paul McBeth hasn't missed a putt inside the circle.
Wow. Well, you heard it from him a couple of minutes ago, where he said he hit every putt he had, and I was, not having seen much of the leader group today, I thought these stats would be down, but there they are. Paul's putting saved his day, kept his lead, and KJ, we see that one other, I think it was a double and we saw it on 16 where he missed the circle 2 or 3 times.
And just as a reminder, if you guys didn't hear earlier in the week, it is playing the bunker rule, so they don't take a penalty stroke, but they do re-tee from their previous lie, and it's just the next throw. But as you can see from the tape, KJ having to throw those extra ones, that's moving him from 2nd to 4th, and that's making it just that much harder to capture McBeth, even if he is dealing with a back injury. Now, you had some shout-outs you wanted to give.
Shout-outs. Well, we've already mentioned Ilari Tuomo, but ace on number 2, 116 meters or 380 feet, that's a shout-out. Philo Brathwaite, ace on hole number 4, 100-meter throw. Nicely done to our Barbados friend.
And, he told me, I caught up with him later in the round, and he said there were no cameras around, so he made the da-da-da by himself after the disc went in.
We got to mention Mikko Firagain for being Mr. Roller Coaster. And today we're going to mention Finland's other 15-year-old sensation, Evelina Salonen. She's now in 5th place in FPO, 1 stroke ahead of her fellow 15-year-old teenage sensation, Hanna Blomros. And Jussi was telling me on the drive over to the studio that Evelina apparently already has more than 30 aces on her home course.
Wow.
Look for those two to make a big splash in the future.
And you can see Evelina and Hanna, there they are, sitting on the top of the chase card with the Americans leading. The usual suspects for both the men and the women are rounding out the top of this tournament. Katrina Allen looks like she's in solid control of her own destiny. The beast is still out there. Nothing is taken for granted. Sarah Hokum has had a little bit of a roller coaster, but she's played very solid throughout the weekend. So we'll look to see what's going to happen there. And Paige Pierce said she's looking to battle, looking to get up to 3rd place, going to challenge Val Jenkins. So the ladies, they're still battling.
Well, I think Paige is going to have her best round of the week tomorrow. Katrina and Sarah shot the identical scores today to what they did in round 1. I mean, they both played great. Obviously, Katrina didn't match yesterday's performance, but it was still a 970 rated round, right around her player rating. And Sarah Hokum shot 984 rated 66. So, you know, for the standings among the first 4 to change, you know, someone's either going to have to play exceptionally well or someone's going to struggle quite a bit.
Well, we're hoping that everybody plays well, but we're also looking forward to some great drama tomorrow. And the leader after 3 rounds, Katrina Allen, let's see what she had to say to our very own hat guy.
We are here with Katrina Allen, leader in the clubhouse after 3 days here in European Open. Katrina, good round today. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
Can you walk us through what happened today on the course?
Started with a birdie, followed up with a bogey. Just kind of up and down today, not as consistent as I normally am. I just found myself in weird spots and missed a few putts. So I wasn't putting like yesterday, and thought I threw a great drive on 18 and was probably this far from being in bounds. So that kind of really put a damper on things. 9-stroke lead sounds a little better, possibly 10 if I get the birdie again. But I think if I just continue to play smart tomorrow, that's the game plan.
You still have a solid lead over the rest of the field. Do you feel safe going into the finals?
I don't think I should ever feel safe because anything can happen. But I think if I stick to my game plan and make sure to just not take any big numbers. On the last hole, kind of for example, I was thinking what's going to be the best score I can take, and if I throw the short, what's the worst I can take. So I kind of make sure just to analyze my shots and, like I said, don't put myself in position where I'm going to take a big number.
And that was Katrina Allen, hoping to hold on and claim her very own European Open victory. Do you have any predictions for tomorrow?
Well, although as the PDGA International Director, I'd love to see KJ in Europe win. My bet is that it'll come down to Paul and Ricky, the current world #1 and #2 players. Paul has a habit of shooting out of this world rounds in big event finals, but we'll have to see how his back holds up. And for right now, the momentum appears to be with Ricky after his stellar performance today.
All right, he's Brian Henniger, and he's here in the PDGA Analysis Corner. I'm looking forward to tomorrow where we get to wrap the whole thing up, and thanks as always for being here.
What a show it's been all this week, and what a show it's going to be tomorrow, including the live coverage on National Finnish TV.
Absolutely. More details on that later. But for now, let's take a sneak preview at a hole that's going to be seen a little bit later in our top 5. It's the hole of the day, presented by Disc Golf Park.
Hole 11. This hole is actually one of my favorite holes at the course. It's par 3, 120 meters. And it's fairly open, but it's required to have a really good drive to get the birdie because there is a OB pond just in front of the green. You need to go over it to get the birdie opportunity.
I'm gonna be honest, it's not my favorite hole. It's a very difficult par 3. There's a lot of trees kind of blocking the hyzer line. I'm trying to play inside the trees, over the pond, try and get that 2 out there.
Risk and reward here on this hole. You lay up, take a 3. 3 is a great score out here, or go for it, get a chance for a birdie, or possibly a bogey.
So that was the risk and reward that Simon was talking about. You go at this hole and you come up a little bit short, there's this pond waiting to catch it. And I know a lot of players, when the wind picks up, laying up shorter in the fairway to assure a nice easy 3.
Flirting with the water, flirting with the trees, getting rewarded with a birdie, gaining a stroke on most of the field.
There is also OB both sides of the hole, so if it's windy, it will get tricky.
Risk reward is the name of the game on hole 11. But you were able to birdie it.
Yes. I like Brian said earlier, I had a really rough time on hole 10. I had a rough time on 10 as well yesterday. And I just, on 11's tee, we had a slight backup, and I just sat there and like kind of talked to myself into trying to birdie it at least, trying to turn the momentum around. And I just threw it a lot harder than I normally do. I've hyzered out left early, short every time. So I was like, throw it harder, get it a little wider, see what happens. And the past couple times I've been up there for a circle 3 putt. So I knew if I just threw it a little harder, I could give myself a putt, and I did today.
Paige Pierce gets birdies. KJ Nybo goes off the basket. Crazy stuff happens on hole 11. I think we should bring a guest in. What do you think?
I think so.
All right, we're going to bring in the man himself, former Oregon State alumni and guest coach of their collegiate team. Let's bring in Nate Sexton. Oh, A's. We've got aces all over the place. There's been 3 this weekend. There's 1 in your intro. Nate Sexton, how you feeling, man?
I'm doing great. Happy to be here.
All right. Nate Sexton, you have been touring with Paul McBeth all year. How is that? Obviously, he is a very dedicated to his craft and to preparing for tournaments. Give us a little sneak peek here. What's he like off the course? What's he like in the RV and on tour?
He relaxes, certainly. I mean, he's the best player in the world right now, and when he's out there working out at the course, you know, he's going to look pretty serious. When we're just hanging out, you know, he likes to watch movies. We just sit around, we rest, we eat, have some pizza, whatever it is, you know. Just kind of, yeah, Chipotle. He loves Chipotle. So we take it easy, and, you know, he definitely relaxes, and we kind of try to just decompress after a long day playing golf at the courses and all the tournaments we're playing.
And you're a low-key guy yourself. And let me tell you, when we're putting together this intro for you, it is hard to find pictures and video of you. You are not the camera, you know, you're not in front of the camera as much as you should be, especially relative to your skill level. You had an absolutely solid year. Tell me about your year this year and how you feel it's going.
It's going well. I mean, the touring is a new experience for me, being out on the road full time. Certainly, I was hoping to have some really high finishes at some of the national tours. I think I have 3 7ths so far this year. I'd love to get up there in the top 3, but I do have 1 A-tier win, so I'm not winless. That's good, because it's harder to win out on the road. You're playing against the best players every weekend.
And for the people that don't know, being that this is your first year on tour, how do you describe your game? I know how I describe it. How do you describe your own game?
I think I have a great forehand. Most people probably know that. I try my best to be a player that throws the forehand when I feel it's a forehand shot and a backhand when I feel it's a backhand shot. So I kind of aspire to be roughly 50-50 with my drives, and then I think I'm a solid putter, making my ICPP, inside the circle putting percentage,
There you go.
is pretty high.
Absolutely. And from my perspective, I've always seen you as a very balanced and smart player. You can go to either side. You know when to do it. It's exactly like you're saying. So you're representing yourself really well. We actually ran into each other a little earlier in the year out at the Collegiate National Championships, and you're doing a little guest coaching. How's that experience, and what's that like being involved with the collegiate game that's growing so rapidly?
I definitely miss it. When I was in Corvallis, I was the coach of the Oregon State Beavers for 3 or 4 seasons. Made 2 previous trips out to the College Nationals with the team and helping them out. So it was nice to see the team still going strong and being at the Nationals. And some of those guys I'd never really met before. It's new kids in school, but it was awesome being there and being able to kind of help give them some confidence and make sure that they were playing the best they could play.
Absolutely, and you've recently relocated to the East Coast. You're in what many consider to be, aside from Oregon, another disc golf mecca of North Carolina, and it's actually where I learned to play too. So
Nice.
that's really cool. I know some of those courses that you're playing out there. How's the game different? East Coast versus West Coast? Break it down for us.
In my experience, the North Carolina courses are generally a little bit more wooded, so it's going to be shorter, more technical overall. The West Coast is going to have a little bit more open, bigger trees. Still a lot of trees, obviously, but bigger ones with a little bit more room to throw a longer shot. So East Coast is technically really demanding, a lot of little up and down elevation shots. Good courses. It's fun.
And I know all the native North Carolinians watching will be jumping for joy because they take so much pride in playing those wooded courses.
They do.
But let's bring it back overseas. Compare it to your experience here. What's your take on courses that UC designs and the Beast?
The Beast is fantastic. I mean, it's a kind of a combination almost of a couple park areas in downtown Nokia, basically. So you kind of have a couple long walkouts into other areas of the city, kind of, but it's really nice. You know, the holes are challenging, fair, long, short. It's got some woods. The variety is fantastic.
And that definitely suits your game, being somebody who has a variety of shots at his disposal. Let's take a look at your round today, and let's break it down a little bit by the numbers.
Let's do it.
So 9 birdies. That's solid, bringing home half the course.
Yeah.
And just a tough double bogey to finish with a 59.
Yeah, bogey-free technically.
Technically.
Just that one double.
What do you look to improve on tomorrow?
Well, I can't mess up hole 18 again. I was really coming in pretty strong. Missed a pretty easy putt for birdie on hole 16, and then drive went OB on 18, and I tried to make a nice save and ended up hitting the big scoreboard and going under there for another out-of-bounds stroke. So being in bounds there, I had birdied it the previous 2 days. I think if I can just kind of play similar but finish off with a birdie instead of a double bogey, I'll be right where I need to be.
You'll be easily looking at that top 7 kind of finish that you're looking for.
Absolutely.
And you're going to get to play on TV?
Yeah,
Are you
I'm
excited
glad.
for that?
Yes. That was a big goal coming in. I mean, I knew that I should be in the top 16, but you know, that's a cool opportunity to be able to be on live national TV in Finland and also being broadcast to, I think, like 200 countries online. So that's cool, you know, to be on that with that professional camera crews and everything. I'm excited to be one of the TV cards.
And finally, if we can't find it anywhere else, we're definitely going to find some video of you on that for the future. Well, let's take a break real quick. Let's look at our question of the day.
My biggest move on moving day was years ago at the Memorial Championship in Phoenix, Arizona, where I moved from the second round. I shot at 12 under par and moved up 50 places to make the lead group for the final round.
My biggest moving day experience was at the Glass Blown Open, I think 2009. I may have been in 45th, and I went from somewhere around 45th to 35th to first place.
My biggest move on the moving day was this year's Memorial, where I jumped from about 7th place to 2 strokes in the lead for the final round.
My biggest moving day would be the Pro World Championship last year. I started in 50th place, and I finished the tournament in 10th or 11th.
My biggest move on moving day was from 65th to 40th. I ended up finishing 16th in that World Championship in 2014.
My best moving day is gonna be today. It's the most important one. Go!
Well, You can tell we asked KJ that question before the round, but I'll say if his biggest move is 2 places, then he's playing pretty consistent golf. Let's start with Paige. Do you have a moving day memory?
In the women's division, it's kind of harder to put a pin on the exact time because we don't have 51 players, you know. So I would say it probably happened at a Worlds or a major where there's more players. I probably was on like the 3rd card and moved to the lead card or something like that. I can't pinpoint an exact one.
Easily done. How about you, Nate?
It's hard to remember an exact day that I made a big move. I had a similar experience to Will at last year's World Championships where I started out pretty slow and ended up, I think, 15th. So moved up there. Once I won a tournament where after the first round I was on the last card. So I think I won from about 12 behind. So that it wasn't a Worlds or anything, but it was kind of a similar experience moving up the board.
Absolutely. And Nate, anytime you can move up, especially if you've had a slow start to a tournament, that's a fantastic move as well. So you mentioned something earlier. You said you got 1 win this year. And tell me about getting that first win. Like, how is that when you're going on tour and you're really trying to break through and get that first one?
Yeah, actually, I won 1 B tier early in the year, so it was my 2nd win, but the first one on tour. And it was great. You know, I was up in Washington at the Fort Silicon Open, an A-tier event. I played and won there a few times before, back when I was native to the Northwest. And it was cool. We had Ricky Wysocki had a tough last hole, and I ended up winning right on the last hole. Dave Feldberg was there too and tied for 2nd place. It was a good tournament.
Absolutely. And so when you're playing in these big tournaments, especially in a place that you've known before, or maybe it's your home course, do you feel more pressure playing at home or playing away?
I don't think it changes it. Maybe a little more pressure like right at my actual home course because, you know, there's my home tournament that I don't really get to play anymore, but I had won it like maybe 4 years in a row, and then I lost 2 years in a row in a playoff, and that was kind of frustrating. So maybe a little bit of pressure at a tournament when you've won it a lot of times in a row. But other than that, as far as home and away, I don't think I feel much difference.
What about you, Paige? Do you have that home course pressure? Or?
For me, in my experience, it's harder to do well on your home course. There's more pressure. You have like locals watching you, cheering you on, and you just want to. That's one of the times where you care about what other people think. I try not to, you know, let it bother me, but there, you know, you want to make the home crowd proud, and so I think that's a lot of added pressure. So I think it's harder to play well at home, for sure.
You sort of have that memory of everything you've done good and bad on all those holes before.
Yeah, you just think, oh, I've birdied this hole a zillion times. Then you hit the first tree, and you're like, well, not today.
You say, oh, what's going to happen on that very next hole?
Yep.
Well, Nate Sexton, thank you so much for joining us on the show tonight. If you guys don't know who Nate Sexton is, here's his face. We're going to put him on camera.
Channing
Watch his
Tatum.
game.
Yeah, how could you not know?
Yeah, Channing Tatum. I love it. Tune in tomorrow. Watch the Channing Tatum of disc golf tear it up in the top 10 on TV, multi-nation broadcast. Best of luck tomorrow, man.
Thank you.
Hope to see you atop those standings.
Thank you.
Have a great round. For now, let's go check out the SpinTV pick from last year's European Masters. Now, lucky enough for Paul, he kind of had the tournament in hand at that point. You know, the deciding factor was a few holes prior to that. But my favorite part is the crowd is clapping, and then the disc just picks up and goes.
Yeah.
They're ready. They're like, it's a great shot, and then red flag. Have you ever had anything nearly that bad happen to you?
Not that bad. That was insane. I mean, the disc total rolled for probably, I don't know, 100 feet forwards and then backwards. Not that bad, for sure.
Definitely not an easy hole, but it makes it that much harder when something like that happens to you.
Yeah, but you kind of have to smile like Paul did. I mean, there's nothing you could do. So if you let stuff like that get to you, it's not going to be good out there.
And that brings us right around to what I was going to talk to you about. You are, without a doubt, one of the most carefree pros that we have in this sport. I mean, even after you've had some tough rounds this week like we discussed, but every time we see you afterwards, with the exception of when we're showing your missed putts again, you always have a smile on your face. You're always having a good time out on the road. I'll admit, I'm a follower on Instagram. I like checking out, seeing what you're doing in between tournaments. You know, is that something that's always been you, or have you, opened that up because of the pressure of competing?
It's definitely always been me for sure, but I think it's heightened this year because in the past on tour, it just gets so strenuous and you're always grinding. You're out there every day trying harder and harder and trying to get better and better. And, at some point it just becomes like redundant and you don't want to lose. I mean, and it gets so frustrating. So like if you're not having fun off the course, you're not going to have fun on the course. And so I just try to take advantage of like the places we go and, try to get better and better about my attitude on the course and trying not to care, but also caring enough to not airball 12 footers.
What's the coolest place you've been this year sort of off the course?
I don't know that I could pick one. Maybe Horseshoe Bend. I really liked that. And like we took a whole week of just going to all these different like landmarks, and Horseshoe Bend was one of them. I think that was my favorite one for sure.
Do you have any awesome stops planned? I mean, we're headed towards the East Coast as the tour rolls on. Worlds in Pennsylvania, USDGC, the Women's US Championships as well. Anything cool in the works?
I'm not really sure, to be honest. Madison, my traveling partner, Madison Walker, she's kind of the sightseer. She's the one who Googles and plans out, so I just go where she goes. But I do know the one thing we're doing is like the disc golf cave in St. Louis. I'm looking forward to that, but that's disc golf related. So wherever we go, it'll be like a swimming hole of some sort.
Fun rounds count.
Yeah.
Especially, I mean, is it fun? That's a big question that I like to ask everybody. Is it still fun to play?
It is to me, but I take breaks as often as I can. When I start feeling like it's not fun or I start getting mad, I'll take a break. And I think that's really important. And I do it really, really big in the winter. I just won't touch a disc for about a month, and then I'll have the urge to play again. And I think touring 9 months of the year, maybe even 10, it takes it out of you. And so you gotta like set aside time to do your other hobbies and see your family and see your friends. And so I think if you're not having fun out there, it's not gonna translate into your score.
Absolutely, and I can honestly say that if we had had this show 6 months ago, I would have said, what are you talking about, 9 months of disc golf traveling?
Yeah.
But even just doing a couple months on the road with Simon, it gave me such a newfound respect for you and everybody that just can really grind it out.
And y'all had it good in an RV where you have a bed and a closet.
Yeah,
I mean,
no complaints.
Not good, but still, like, you're not unpacking your suitcase every day. And
No complaints at all about my touring situation. It definitely gave me a newfound perspective and really just some very cool experiences on the road.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to, look past tomorrow. You still have one more round to play, but the Worlds is coming up. Are you hunting for that third title?
Absolutely. Anybody that said they weren't would be lying to you, I think. But I just after this is my last tournament before Worlds, so it's kind of a little bit of a momentum swing, I feel, in my head. But I'm just going to try to forget about this tournament and just putt a lot before Worlds. And it's in Pittsburgh. I've played one of the courses before, maybe even two of them, but I can only remember one, and I remember it was really wooded, tight woods. So I just feel like I'm going to work on my release point and my putting for sure.
Awesome. Well, before we get out of here, we still got some great shots to see. How about 5 more? Let's check out the top 5 shots from moving day. Coming in at number 5. This is Ricky Iwasaki from hole 11. Like we were talking about earlier, he's just walking out his putt when it's still in the air. He knew that was going in. That was for a birdie too. Hole 2, hey, Seppo's back there. You can't see him, but this is for to save his par. Again, running at hole 11. People are making it look easy. It's absolutely ridiculous this year. And coming in at 3, how about Paul McBeth, the man himself, from the corner on 10. Long putt, no problem. 2, we saw it yesterday. It's coming in today. Trying to get on SportsCenter. Paul Ulibarri seeking the pin.
Oh,
almost.
so close.
So close. Another nut moment. And here's this guy, young Finnish kid, Ilari Tuomo. Sorry if I said that wrong. On hole 2, little skip in. Right there.
Oh, wow.
For a 1. And that propelled him to a great, I believe he shot 7 or 8 down today. Really big moving day for him. Congratulations for being on the top spot. You were holding down the top spot yesterday. Did that make you feel at least a little bit better?
Yeah, a little bit.
It's always good when you end the round on a great putt like that.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was so frustrating. That was the best drive I've had on that hole. And then to throw my next shot, OB, it was so frustrating. Just walking up that hill, I was like, oh, I'm going to try it. I got to run this. Yeah. And so it did feel a little bit better. But, you know, coming off a round like that,
you can sleep with a little bit more of a smile on your face at least. All right, she's Paige Pierce. She's been my wonderful co-host for the evening. Tomorrow is the final round of the European Open 2015 in Nokia at the Beast. Be sure, guys, to tune in. We are doing a live broadcast, and I can announce it here. We will simulcast both in the Finnish language and in English. I will be joined by my good friend Avery Jenkins to broadcast the last 4 cards. So if you're watching in the States or you prefer to watch it in English, check it out. We're going to be in the booth. And until then, she's Paige. I'm Jamie. This is The Insider Show.